If you were to think about those who are reckless with their tongues, the person that would probably be furthest from it, or the people that would probably be furthest from it, are the Sahaba, the companions that we speak about on such a frequent basis. But in this particular narration, Zayd ibn Aslam, he narrates from his father that Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu once entered upon Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, وَهُوَ يَجْبِذُ لِسَانَهُ, and he was grabbing his tongue. I want you to imagine the scene of seeing Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, of all people, crying and grabbing his tongue. Can you think of anything that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu did wrong with this blessed tongue that was first to testify to the prophethood of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the men, that stood up with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and spoke what was pleasing to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam intuitively and through divine facilitation? But Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu enters upon him and he sees him in regret holding on to his tongue, and he says to him, "Qif, ghafarallahu lak, stop, may Allah forgive you." Why? Why are you of all people, O Abu Bakr, grabbing your tongue? And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu responds and he says, "Inna hadha awradani al-mawarid." This piece of flesh has taken me to dangerous places. This tongue of mine has put me in severe trouble. It has taken me to dangerous places. SubhanAllah, of all people, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu holding himself to that standard, holding himself to account in such a way that no one else around him has a claim against Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu if he backbited or gossiped or slandered, or if he said something that was foul or displeasing to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was a man whose tongue was full of sidq, of truthfulness, whose actions were full of sidq. But he's holding his tongue and he's saying, "Inna hadha awradani al-mawarid." This tongue of mine has taken me to dangerous places. On the other hand, the quality of the hypocrites that is mentioned both in the Quran and the Sunnah, وَإِن تَقُولُوا تَسْمَعْ لِقَوْلِهِمْ, they love the way that they sound. They talk a lot and people listen to them. And so they comment about everything. الثَّرْثَارُونَ الْمُتَشَدِّقُونَ الْمُتَفَيْهِقُونَ. The Prophet ﷺ used different terms for them. That they love to weigh in on everything, and they weigh in a way that sounds intelligent, but at the end of the day, the Prophet ﷺ describes them as a hated people. أَبْغَضَكُمْ إِلَيَّ وَأَبْعَدَكُمْ مِنِّي يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. The most hated of you to me and the furthest from me on the day of judgment. You talk too much. And you love the way that you sound. You love to hear yourself weighing in on certain things, but you talk too much. And in one narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُبْغِضُ الْبَلِيغَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ. That Allah hates the eloquent person from the men. Now obviously, balagha is a good thing. Eloquence is a good thing if it's used for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in this situation, the Prophet ﷺ said, الَّذِي يَتَخَلَّلُ بِلِسَانِهِ كَمَا تَتَخَلَّلُ الْبَقَرَةِ. The one whose tongue moves around the way that the tongue of a cow moves around. And the way the scholars explain that is that when you watch the way that a cow eats its fodder, it wraps its tongue around it. It's a nasty sight. And the Prophet ﷺ is saying, this is the way that you should look at people whose tongues are so loose and long and comment on everything and their tongues spin around. And usually, a person who's eloquent, a person who's poetic, a person who sounds intelligent, even when he has no idea what he's talking about, weighs in on things that he has no business weighing in on and speaks too much and ends up, as the scholars say in the explanation of this hadith in Abu Dawood, ends up in a place of istihza, in a place of mocking people, making fun of people, in a place of consuming the awrat, the honor, the dignity of their brothers and sisters. And so there's a fear of the poets at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, because the poets were the most honored of society, and now you have a religion that tells you, watch your tongue, watch how much you use this tongue. And so compare and contrast. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu grabbing his tongue, the other person the Prophet ﷺ mentioning, having a tongue that slaps around the way that the tongue of a cow slaps around.